When does something become old or outdated?
I would say something becomes old or outdated when the way of life is no longer related or matching to what the idea is. And life is changing real quickly lately, so a lot of ideas are quite outdated and becoming more so.
It's about being in the present moment. And an idea becomes outdated or old, in fact, when it's no longer like in the mind, body, heart space.
Hello and welcome to Diamond Bridges. I'm your host, Irene Diamond. Join me today as I feature two guests of the Gen X and Millennial generations to discuss their basic principles of faith surrounding current topics such as community and self-care, the creative process and holistic approach to healing. From an empowered place, each of my guests are going to get into the aspects of their true sense of purpose that drive them to bring more kindness and truth to the world. My first guest is a millennial whom I've actually known personally and professionally since he was 4 years old. His parents brought him to me for piano lessons. An only child, he was brought up in Newtown, Connecticut, and now resides in Boulder, Colorado. Early on in his career, and fresh out of the University of Pennsylvania, he rapidly became a valued executive for Apple, then Google, and then for Facebook. Now independently an entrepreneur and community leader, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Eric Fisher. My second guest is a wellness innovator with a passion to support women in finding their purpose. Understand who you are, why you're beautiful, and stand for that. She herself was previously a professional Ford model. She owned her own fashion company in Europe and is presently recognized by Forbes as an international chef, where she builds community through her business, Purposeful Ventures LLC. Please welcome wellness innovator Helene Leeds.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you both for joining me for today. Both of you are innovators. You have this attribute in common, and there has to be an underlying creative spark that lights both your fires. Do you ever stop coming up with ideas?
I do, and I enjoy sleeping when I don't have any ideas. Yes.
Sleeping is really good an element of health, right, Helene?
It is essential to sleep.
Yeah, always said if you sleep well, then you're fine.
Yeah, you can't really expect your health to function well without sleep. The underlying, spark, an idea that drives it all is sometimes it can be overwhelming. Have so many ideas all the time, so I tend to be lately. I've been writing them down just to kind of have an outlet because I think one of the reasons why I love to cook so much is because it's like a project I can finish because I have so many ideas all day long that are just really big, and it's like, huh.
Yeah, that reminds me of the days when I would practice piano for like 4 or 5 hours a day. And I had a method of clearing my head of things that were entering by making a list. Because once you create a list, you get it off your mind. You're not thinking about those things. It's very liberating. And then afterwards, you have a wonderful list. So I'm curious, when does something become old or outdated? Eric, you want to go first?
I would say something becomes old or outdated when the way of life is no longer related or matching to what the idea is. And life is changing real quickly lately, so a lot of ideas are quite outdated and becoming more so.
Helene, do you ever stop coming up with new ideas?
It's endless. For me, the idea generating machine, the visionaries, like the ideas, there's just nonstop. As Eric said before, it's like when you sleep, maybe the ideas stop, but then when you wake up, sometimes you've had dreams. So it's almost never. But I love what Eric was saying because it's about being in the present moment. And an idea becomes outdated or old, in fact, when it's no longer like in the mind, body, heart space, right? Something I thought of 5 years ago, parts of that idea are relevant today just because it's still in the space, so to say, because it's relevant for, the evolution of humanity or, whatever it is we're moving into in any given, time space continuum.
So, Helene, then how do you decide which ideas to pursue or implement?
That's really challenging, to be honest. I struggle with that. I feel like if I had a few teams of people that were just working for me 24/7, that I would execute on a ton of ideas all the time. But I feel limited by my capacity because there's some things I'm just not good at. So I choose things that I feel that are capable of, and inside of that is I have a sense of being very limited, which I know is just a mental construct. But I action things that I feel I can actually do.
You're saying that you feel limited when you feel you have to do it by yourself or on your own. Like
I
it's
just,
too much for you.
yeah. I feel like I've been given a lot of skills. Yeah. And I feel like if I had, some other skill sets, like a team of people, that I could be actioning ideas, nonstop.
Would you say that you try everything out first and then share it with others or
When it
some?
comes to, yeah, when it comes to like the lifestyle medicine protocols and the things that I teach, 100%. I tried out on myself first, extensively. Yeah.
Do you keep some things to yourself, like even things that are working?
I do because they can be a little bit counterculture or if somebody heard about it and they only knew a little bit, they could actually get themselves into danger without like proper guidance. So absolutely, I definitely keep some things to myself.
Nice. Wow. Interesting. Dangerous or maybe not to the fullest of its intention.
Yeah,
With
half knowledge can be really dangerous.
Eric, when do you decide to share with others what's useful or what works for you?
I have shared historically Helene's sentiment of feeling like if I had a bunch of people to help me, we could do a lot of stuff. Because historically, I've also done a lot of projects on my own. In order to build this house, obviously, I had to work with a lot of people, many of whom knew things that I didn't know, which was great. And when uh, when everything goes well with other people, it's really fun, and when it doesn't, it's not fun.
Obviously, if you have a team, you have to be able to delegate, right? You have to be able to give instructions and they have
But
to,
they have to know how to take the instructions and go beyond what you're saying. You know,
right.
the communication necessity is reduced when the caliber of people is higher. Because they get it. That's really important. Otherwise, you're just spending all your time explaining.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not
So,
fun.
Helene, what was one of your first experiences of having something that you just needed to share with others on a community level?
Hmm. I think it was when I resolved my skin issues. I was so excited because I saw so many people suffering. I solved them holistically because I tried all the Western medicine things, and then I had this relief, right? Where I was like, oh, I figured this out. And then I figured out my digestive issues, and then I was like, oh, I've got to share this information. Or I figured out how to make certain things taste, delicious, but they were super ultra magnificently healthy and healing. And so, every time I solve a problem for myself, almost that's historical that I've been struggling with. I want to share it.
Eric?
I'm a pretty logical science kind of guy. So the fact that I've been experiencing for now the last, 7 years, some special spiritual energies, but then particularly in the grief experience subsequently, I'm excited that I'm not the full control, like I'm not the one in control of my life all the time, that there are things happening that I can get on board with, or I can resist. And if I resist them, then I'm the one that's going to suffer. And if I get on board, then everything's fine.
Oh, wow. That lesson that you just is a good lesson, that the one that you just explained about going with the flow or resisting. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's a really
yes,
good lesson to learn. And I still go through it. Like sometimes I still think, oh, I guess I need to go this other way because this is definitely the best way. Like you know when
yeah,
it's clicking and when you're resisting.
yes,
And if you decide to resist, you usually and I think that that choice becomes clearer as the more you experience this. But
yeah, totally. I have long felt that one of the purposes of life is the effective use of energy. So
oh,
you are maintaining energy as much as you can, and then you are using it where necessary, and you're not using it otherwise. You're conserving it for the best possible use. And so rather than, let's say, being out in the world and trying to grab onto different things and trying to control this and understand that and everything, that's a lot of energy that you're spending. And in reality, probably a fraction of those things that you're giving your attention to are really necessary. And you're only giving them a fraction of your attention because you're giving it to other things. So if you can take it all off and just focus on the things that really do require energy, then you'll find that you have so much energy, so much attention for those things, and no energy for things that don't matter.
what about that old cliche? There's only so much time in a day. How would you respond to that?
Right?
I mean, in light of what you just said.
Yeah, there's only, well, I wouldn't even use the phrasing with related to time and day, because time and the perspective of time and the perception of time is all related to the energy that you're holding. And so if you're holding one kind of energy, time can be very short. There's not enough time. I got to do all these things.
He's
If you're
right.
holding a different energy, time is really, really long. It's like a day could be like a year. And
Yeah.
so that's also related to efficient use of your energy and attention, is that you can tell that you're doing it right when things feel really long. Because then you realize, like, our life is very long. We are living a very long time.
You have more time.
Yeah. So I
Interesting.
love what Eric said. That's so brilliant. It's so true. It's like the premise of how I live my life and what I teach too, because everything's energy at the end of the day, right? You eat foods that bring you energy, as opposed to eating foods that take energy from you. You know, how do you restore your energy? How do you titrate your energy? I mean, it's everything is about that, right? It's so well said, Eric.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And back to our premise of rest, like once once you run out of ideas, you take a rest. And I'm a
But
big
yes, absolutely.
in sleep. I think sleep is the best remedy for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
agreed.
I tell my family that too. Let's take this to the dining room. Energized by each guest's clear sense of purpose, as a talent paramedic with decades of experience teaching private music lessons and helping students access suppressed parts of themselves, I empower my guests to claim their authentic expression. From an empowered place, my guests are invited to share how they utilize their successes to bring more truth and kind-heartedness to the world. So, Eric, what form of expression are you advocating at your home in Boulder?
This home is it's a retreat center for people to come and play, be, and see for themselves. Which is to say that if you are someone who is pursuing the enlightenment path in any way, um, if you give yourself up to the world, there are so many things telling you that you're not there yet. You got to take this yoga class, you got to go to this retreat, you got to do all these plant medicines, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get this certification. It's endless. It's the same. It's the same mentality that's built the business world economically. So I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying this is a place where you can come and just be with yourself. Let's see if you can do it. Take a few days, and do nothing. Enjoy the nature, enjoy some food, enjoy the silence, enjoy the lack of clutter. Because what will happen is all your stuff is going to come to the surface because you're not distracted and you're not being put into boxes. And so when all that stuff comes up, it could be any kind of experience. It could be fun, it could be sad, it could be hard, you could cry. And I say, great, whatever it is, just feel it, let your emotions come out. There's a beautiful view. You can take a rain shower if you want to. I mean, you have nice, comfortable sheets. So like, what better place to feel all your feelings than here? And then once you are in that state where you're no longer constricted and you're like, wow, I really feel like I can just say whatever or feel whatever. And now we have the beginnings of what you can use to cultivate a new life for yourself where you can make time and space.
Would you consider yourself a leader?
I guess so. So, although lead by example is really the important distinction. I mean, look at me. I don't have any clutter in this house. I don't have any like pictures of things in this house. I don't have any messy drawers. This is the way that I am, the way that I live. So it's very different than a lot of people, but that's why I'm inviting them to come in and see, like, I'm a human too. I'm living this way, so it's possible.
Do you have any aspirations for political office or governing positions?
No, that's another issue with the political system, is that it attracts the worst people because it's so bad. First of all, they would never even allow me to run because they'd probably dig into my background and find all of the medicines I've done. So that's going to write me off.
I don't think that's.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe.
Okay, so forget about politics per se, but what about government position?
I was considering at some point maybe looking into city council or something, just because I see what's happening in Boulder and the way that they're making decisions about where the money comes from and goes. And I'm like, this is bad. Boulder's supposed to be like a liberal haven in many ways. And it is, there are people here, but from a business financial perspective, it's not. It's not.
Well, like and it starts at the local level. The best government leaders start, at the local.
Very local. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We'll look into it over time.
You're applying ancient healing traditions to modern day living. Give us some examples. You do the Vitality Day retreats.
Yeah. Well, over the years and throughout my travels internationally, I have come to find and become curious about different traditions that are effective. And I find that it's yes, there are modern traditions like, the therapies and whatnot that are very exciting and interesting, like the compression, pants or whatever, but they're all kind of based on these ancient healing traditions, like laying your hands on healing, whether it be massage, but they're basically just gateways into what Eric, described. They're gateways to help us, have less restriction and more expansion. They're gateways to help us move through some of those hard emotions, like a far infrared sauna, for example, where you're really perspiring and there's something happens. There's something very tribal about that. You break through, for example, and then the perspiration starts to flow. And yes, you're detoxifying as an ancient healing tradition, but you're also moving through, it's bringing things up, like different emotions and things, because that's really the key to freedom. Eric did such a beautiful job describing that. And it's actually so simple. But it can get complex. So after the far infrared sauna, then you could do a cold plunge, right? You constrict, after you've expanded the vascular system, and there's something inside of that also helps to push something through, and out, right? It literally goes into your veins and breaks, things free. It's really powerful. And then we do these like sanctified movement practices, conscious breathing and then movement that's very intentional around also liberating different bodily systems. And most importantly, our energetic heart. Ancient healing traditions also with food, of course, food that, is very high prana food that's very high energy, that helps to, increase oxygen and helps to cleanse the body, keeps the body well hydrated, and so on and so forth. So these are all ancient healing traditions that are from my background is specifically interested in traditional Chinese medicine, the Vedic practices from India, and then of course the United States and Europe with different, healing herbs and foods and ideologies, as well as physical practices like the sauna or the chi machine or cupping or different things.
So you implement some of this in your Vitality Day retreats?
All of what I just mentioned, yeah, is in the Vitality Day retreat. Yeah, and then we're looking to create more intensive experiences. Those have not yet launched yet. They're going to be combined, I think, with some, pre-work, and then yeah, so it's really been very joyous for me. I feel very uplifted and fulfilled, and the people have gotten such tremendous awakenings. They're more like inklings. Like if you go to Eric's for a 3 or 4 day event or longer, you may be changed forever. A day retreat, I think, helps to like just kind of like peek inside. It's like, okay, it's like a little awakening,
So, Eric, what message would you like to give the viewing audience?
You're not who you think you are. And I use those words very carefully. Wow. So that's the one.
Helene, what about you?
My message is about tenderness and love as the way through. I think that we're very hard on ourselves. I know that I am. The clients and people that I work with are. And I think if we can have more faith in the natural unfolding of things, have more mercy with ourselves, be kinder to ourselves inside of that inner voice that is going along almost all day long, and to insert a lot of love and tenderness and forgiveness on this path.
I like that, forgiveness. I want to thank my viewing audience for joining me today. And thank you to my guests for taking the time and having this intimate talk with me. We can learn a lot from each other, our tribe, and I wish you both great success in all of your endeavors. See you next time on Diamond Bridges.